first thing that we're going to speak about, this series of lessons, is going to be about exponents, right? So the first thing that we want to speak about are squares and squaring, all right? So what does squaring mean in maths? Does anybody know what the word to square something means? Okay, Takalani?
Ma'am, it's times 2.
Times 2. So Takalani says times 2. Otha, what do you think? Do you think it's also times 2?
No, it's actually pronounced otter.
Oh, otter. Sorry, otter.
Otter. So I think squaring is, yes, it's times 2, but like you times the same number twice.
There we go. All right, you're on the right track. Absolutely, that's really, really good. All right, so the same number multiplied by itself. Absolutely. Let's take one other person. Mahlodi, what do you think squaring means?
Ma'am, what I think squaring is doubling, actually using the two same numbers, but actually multiplying it to get to the answer that you're heading for.
Sure, I understand what it is that you're trying to say, and we're going to talk a lot about that, okay? So squaring means when you multiply a number by itself. So squaring means multiplying a number by itself. So I can understand why some people would get confused with doubling. But there's a big difference, okay, between timesing something by 2 and timesing something by itself. So I'm just going to come off to the side over here, all right? If I take a number like this and I say 3 plus 3, that's doubling. Okay. So this is what we refer to in maths as repeated addition. And repeated addition is multiplying. So the other way that I could work out the answer to this question, 3 plus 3, is to also say, let's see who's got their hand in the air. Okay, Mutabang, what could I also say instead of 3 plus 3? Yes, you can answer in the chat. You're welcome to put answers in the chat. The chat's a great way of people being able to say what they think. Okay, so Motabang, I didn't hear anything from you. Maria, we haven't heard anything from you today. What do you think?
Ma'am, you would say 3 times 2.
Excellent, Maria. That's wonderful. That's exactly what I was looking for. Okay, brilliant. All right, so 3 times 2 would be another way of being able to work out this answer. Now compare that, all right, to 3 times 3. Okay, this is not doubling. This is squaring. Okay, so we are taking a number and we are multiplying it by itself. So in this case, what it is it's repeated multiplication. Repeated multiplication of the same value. Okay, so, and how we would write that is as 3 to the power of 2, or 3 squared. That's what it means. Okay, now, are there questions that somebody wants to ask, or is there answers that people wanted to give? I'm just not sure. Yes.
Ma'am, so
yes.
About the 3 times 3, because I thought the squaring would be 3 times 3 times 3. But am I correct if I say the 3 times 3 times 3 is cubing?
Correct. Correct,
Okay.
200. So 3 times 3 times 3, or 2 times 2 times 2, or 5 times 5 times 5. That's cubing. Okay, but squaring means very specifically to multiply something by itself. Okay, so that could be a letter when you start doing algebra, or it can be a number, and it can be any digit number. It could be a 1-digit number like 3, or it could be a 2-digit number like 10, or it could be a 10-digit number. It's possible to square any number on earth. And we're going to talk about, someone says, I don't understand. Nsekelo, what don't you understand? What squaring means? Okay, so Nsekelo, let's just talk a little bit further. All right, so if squaring means multiplying a number by itself, square numbers are the numbers that we get when we've multiplied another number by itself. Okay, so square numbers are obtained by multiplying other numbers by themselves. By multiplying, that would be useful to put in there, wouldn't it? Other numbers by themselves. So if we look at the example that we were talking about earlier, we were talking about 3 times 3 being the same as 3 squared. So what is 3 times 3? 3 squared gives us 9. All right, so 9 would be seen as a square number. Okay, so now I see there's other people that have got their hands up. Tisha, what did you want to ask?
Ma'am, I'm really lost. I really still don't understand.
So, but you know how to multiply, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so all we're talking about is taking a number and multiplying that number by itself.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it's always speaking about, but just speaking about the meaning of the word squaring in maths, and that it means that you take a number, any number, and you times it by itself. So what's your favorite number, Tisha?
I don't have a favorite number.
Okay, well, what day of the month were you born on?
On the 16th.
On the 16th. Okay, so now if I say 16 times 16, the answer to that is 256. I have squared 16, and 256 is a perfect square. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, so we're just talking about taking numbers and multiplying them by themselves. Okay, and the answer to that is something always called a square. And the reason that we learn about them is because they're actually really important in the real world and in maths. So does anybody know an example of where we use these numbers in the real world? Let's have a look at whose hands are up. Lucky number 7. Okay, whose hand is up? Okay, Mimi, where do we use squaring in the real world? Do you know?
Ma'am, I think algebra or something.
We do use it in algebra, absolutely. That's a good suggestion. Owam, do you know where we use squaring in the real world?
Ma'am, I was gonna ask a question about the square numbers, ma'am.
Okay, go for it. Ask your question, Owam.
Ma'am, we already did the square numbers in my school, but ma'am, the part where I'm confused at is that, ma'am, when you like calculate the square number, ma'am, how did ma'am get to the answer of 9? Where did ma'am get
to the answer of 9?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. So I got to the answer of 9 by saying 3 times 3. We're actually going to write out all the square numbers. I haven't done it yet, but that's one of the things that we were going to do this lesson. So I'm just going to show you now. All right. So in the real world, we can use square numbers to work out distance. All right. And in maths, we can use square numbers when we work with things like area. Okay, so the area of a square, for example. All right, so now let's go down here because I think this might help a few people who say that they're a little bit confused. Okay, at least I'm hoping it will. All right, so we're going to write out the first 12 square numbers. So 1 squared means 1 times 1, which is 1. All right, let's do the second one together. So 2 squared means, all right, and now this is where I'm going to call on you guys to participate. Okay, Mbali, what does 2 squared mean?
It means 2 times 2.
It means 2 times 2. And in Bali, 2 times 2 is?
4.
Lovely, lovely. Well done, in Bali. That's perfect. Thank you. Okay, let's try somebody else. Motabang, you're going to do the next number, which in this case is going to be 3 squared. What does it mean, Motabang? Motabang, can you hear me? I can't hear you. What does 3 squared mean? Okay, let's go to somebody else. Sorry, I can't hear you, Motabang. Okay, Oratilwe, what does 3 squared mean?
It means 3 times 3.
Good, lovely. And 3 times 3 is?
9.
Lovely, well done. That's great. Is 9. Okay, let's choose somebody else to do the next one. Okay, Nima, you're going to do the next number for us. So 4 squared means?
It means 4 times 4, and that's 16.
Good, means 4 times 4, and the answer to that is 16. Lovely. Let's see who else has got a hand up here. Okay, Nkobile, what's next? What's the next square number?
5
or number we
times
need to
5.
square? 5 times 5, absolutely. So 5 squared, and that means
5 times
5 times 5, lovely. And the answer to that is?
equals to 25.
25. Okay, lovely. Good job. And the next square number is going to be Kabunina. You do that for us, Kabunina.
Hello, ma'am. It's actually Kaya. I made a mistake with my name.
Oh, okay. Hi, Kaya. No problem. What's the next one?
Hi, ma'am. Ma'am, for 6 times 6.
Yes.
Ma'am, 6 times 6 is 36.
Lovely. Well done. That's perfect. So 6 squared means 6 times 6, which is 36, as you've told us. Lovely. Well done. Okay, then there's somebody, Agova. I don't know if I've pronounced that correctly. I don't know who that is.
It's actually Nancy from using my mother's laptop.
Oh, okay. All right. You go for it. That yours is the next one.
7 times 7.
7 times 7. And what's the answer to that?
49.
It certainly is. You guys know your times tables really well. And Tekelo, you're going to do the next one for us, please. And Tekelo?
This is a ripoff.
And Tekelo?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, why don't you do this one for us? What's the next one?
8 times 8.
8 times 8. And what's 8 times 8? Do you know, Ntikelo?
64.
It is 64. Okay, we're nearly there. We're nearly there. Okay, someone wanted to do 9 squared. Who was that? Mimi. Okay, Mimi, you do 9 squared then.
Ma'am, it's equals to 9 times 9 equals 81.
It certainly does. means 9 times 9, and the answer to that is 81. Okay, Nima, that's fine. Let's just see who else needs a turn here. Bulela, do the next one for us.
Ma'am, what's the number?
We're now on 10, Bulela.
It's 10.
Yes, we're on 10. So square 10 for us.
10 times 10, ma'am.
It is. And what's 10 times 10?
100.
It certainly is. Well done, Bulela. Thank you so much. All right, then let's see. Cizo, do 11 for us, please, Cizo.
11 square means 11 times 11, which equals to 121.
Very good. Well done, Cizo. Thank you so much. That's excellent. All right. And then, Nima, you wanted to do the last one.
Yes,
Sorry.
please.
Okay, Nima, go for it.
Sorry, I wanted to say that my name's not really Cizo, it's Pamantla.
Oh, would you like your name to be changed?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, that's fine. I tell you what, just put the name that you wanted to be changed to, Spamandla, into the chat, and then Kat will be able to do that for you. Okay. All right. So Nima, you do the last one for us.
12 squared is 12 times 12, and 12 times 12 is 144.
It certainly is. Okay, so the first 12 squares we have written out over here, right? And you need to know them off by heart. And if you learn them this year, it means next year when you go into grade 8 is going to be just a little bit easier for you. Okay, so make sure that you learn these square numbers off by heart so that you know what they are. So really, squaring is a type of operation. Squaring is an operation. It's a mathematical operation. All right, and the idea is that when we square something, we are multiplying it by itself. All right, so the numbers that we get on the right-hand side of the equal sign, so the numbers that we get over here where the purple arrow is, they are called perfect squares. All right, and the reason that they are called perfect squares is because they actually make squares. All right, so let me show you this on the right hand side as well. Remember, we said that 1 times 1 was 1 squared, which was 1. All right, so here is a square. It's 1 by 1, and that gives us an area of 1 square unit. Now let me take a bigger square. This square is 2 by 2. 2 is being multiplied by itself. It's being squared. The answer is 4. And that's why the area of this will be 4 square units, whatever they are. All right, and then it comes to an even bigger square, right? This one is 3 by 3. Okay, and that's where we get 9 from. Does that make sense to everybody? See, there's a lot of people that have put their hands up. Okay, let's just see what's going on in the chat. I do 12, just on mute. Okay, so that's all fine. All right, so I see there's a lot of people with their hands up. Have I lost anybody anywhere? I suppose if there's lots of questions to ask, I'll stop. Okay, so Owan, I can see your hands up. What's wrong? Are you okay?
Yes, ma'am, I'm okay. It was from the last time. Sorry, ma'am.
Oh, was it from the last time? Okay. Tani, have you got your hand up for a specific reason?
No, ma'am, I just wanted to answer a question. But
okay. All right. Sisikelo, what about you? Did you want to ask a specific question?
No, ma'am.
Okay, all right. So maybe these are just still left over from the last time. All right, so it's really, really important to understand, grade sevens, that the reason that they are called square numbers is because they actually make squares. Okay, and I think that when you know that, that's another way that helps you to remember exactly what they are. Okay, so here there's an even bigger square. All right, 4 by 4. Okay, so if we cut it into 4 by 4, we're going to end up with 16 blocks. Okay, so 4 by 4 is 4 squared, which gives us 16. So that's why the numbers 1, 4, 9, 16, etc., etc. are all called perfect squares because they actually make square shapes. Okay, now, Mbali, you raised your hand. What do you want to ask? Okay, maybe you don't have a question. Aluswe, do you want to ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Aluswe, go for it.
Miss, here at the last part again here, what did you say?
Okay, so which part did you miss? Did you miss where I was saying that square numbers make square shapes?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So I was just writing here on the side, Aluswe, just trying to show you that another reason why we call them square numbers is because they actually make squares. Okay, so you know in maths that a square is any shape and its distances around the outside are all the same, isn't it? Length, its sides are all the same. All right, that's a square by definition in maths. All right, so the sides are equal to one another. So the reason that they're called square numbers is because they actually make square shapes. So that is another way of you being able to remember what a square or a perfect square is, I think. Okay, now let's go back and go and have a look at what's missing over here. All right, so I'm going to give everybody, well, hopefully everybody, a chance. Right? If you have a look, there is a certain way in which things have been written, right? So in the first line, it's been written as the number multiplied by itself. In the second line, it's been written using exponential notation, all right? Do you know what the words exponential notation mean?
Yes.
You do, Lenati. So to write something with exponential notation, yes, what does that mean, Lenati?
Ma'am, I think you can write it like for example, 4 to the power of 2 or something like that.
Exactly. So 4 to the power of 2 rather than in expanded form where something has been written, for example, as
4 times
4. 4. That's quite right. Well done. Okay, and then if we have a look below that, they've written it out in words, and then they've got the number as well. Okay. All right, so let's call on someone. I'm going to try and speak to somebody that hasn't had an opportunity to say anything yet. Adriana. Adriana, can you unmute or talk in the chat? What do you think goes in this square over here, Adriana? I'm going to put a little green star. What goes there, Adriana? That's fine, Busi, use the chat. I tell you what, since Adriana is feeling shy and doesn't want to talk to me, then Mimi, you can do the next one. All right, I promise. Okay, Busi, go for it. What's supposed to be in this block, Busi? You're not sure. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Mimi, what's supposed to go in the block with a green star?
Ma'am, it's 2 to the power of 2.
It is. It's 2 to the power of 2. Excellent. Well done. 100%. Tolamo, I want you to tell me what needs to go in the block with the red star. Tolamo. What needs to go here, Tolamo?
Um, 10 over 2.
10 over 2. Look carefully at all the other ones. Oops, you know what? I've made a mistake. Sorry, guys. That's not right. What was supposed to go here? I'm fast asleep. This was supposed to be 5 times 5, wasn't it? Okay, because it's whatever number it is multiplied by itself. Okay, so there we go. All right, so now the red one over here. What needs to go in this block here?
Oh, 10 times 2. 10 times 10.
It is 10 times 10. All right, well done. 100%. 10 times 10. Okay. Let's see who else has got their hand up. Okay. Ingrid, that's a new name. Ingrid, why don't you do the one with a purple star? There you go. That's yours, Ingrid.
Ma'am, that will be 10 to the power of 2.
Excellent, Ingrid. Well done. That's really nice. Good job. Okay, Sisikelo, you do the one with the green star. What goes there, Sisikelo?
12 in the power of 2.
Excellent. Well done. You guys are so clever. That's excellent. All right, let's see who else can do. Okay, Asemahle, you do the last one in the second row here with the red star. Asemahle, what goes here?
It's 8 to the power of 2.
8 to the power of 2. Good, well done. All right, now on to the next row. Let's see who else can go here for us. Let's see someone who hasn't had a chance to talk. Who's got their hand up? Anati. Anati, what should I write in this square over here?
5 squared.
5 squared. That's right. I don't know if you can see that. Okay. All right. Good, Anati. Well done. All right. Next block over where the blue star is. Let's see who can tell us that one. Is it Malachi? Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Malachi, you tell us what's supposed to go in this block.
20, ma'am.
20. Are you sure, Malachi? Look at the other numbers above it. What was being squared?
20 squared.
It's 12 squared, Malachi. 12 squared. Okay, so in other words, we're doing the same, using the same number going down in the row. Okay, so it would have been 12 squared, not 20 squared, but that doesn't matter. That's fine. Well done. Spamandla, you do the next one for us, please, Spamandla. Over here. What goes here, Spamandla?
On number 4, right?
Yes. 4.
You can say 4 squared.
4 squared, quite right. All right, very good. And then in the last block over here where the little red star is, let's see, Tisha. Okay, Tisha, go next.
In the next block, you'll say 8 squared.
8 squared. Good, Tisha. Nice. Well done. That's very good. All right, so now we've got to fill in these perfect square numbers. All right, so let's ask some other people that also haven't had a chance. Amy, what's supposed to go in this block over here, Amy, with a little red dot? What goes here, Amy?
Ma'am, on the score.
Say again, Amy.
Sure, ma'am.
I'm struggling to hear you, Amy. I'm going to ask someone else because I'm battling to hear you a little bit. Let's see who else has got their hand up. Sarah.
4, ma'am.
4. Well done, Sarah. That's perfect. Beautifully put. Okay, and some of you have put that in the chats as well. Nice. Good job. Well done. Okay, and then over here, the number that's supposed to go over there. Okay, Boy Ponelo says it's 144. Absolutely, that's really good. And Kaya, you do this one over here for us, Kaya. What number is supposed to be there?
16, ma'am.
16, absolutely. Okay, so all of these numbers in the last row are referred to as perfect squares. Okay, and the reason that they are perfect squares is because we can make square shapes out of them, because they all are equal to another number multiplied by itself. Okay, so I'm going to jump forward a little bit because there's something that I want to show you, which is, I think, a really cool trick before we end off today. But before we do that, I just want to do a little bit of working backwards. Okay, so again, I'm going to call on you guys to help me with the answers. All right, so if 8 squared is 64 and 9 squared is 81, what number squared is 25? Mpo, what number when squared is 25?
Is 5, ma'am.
It's 5, quite right. Good job, well done, that's great. Okay, then we're going to have a look at the next one. What number when squared is 100? Lorato?
It's 10.
It's 10, good job. Okay. Next person, let's find someone else who hasn't. Tetelo, what number when squared is 64?
Hi, ma'am. The number for 64 is... the number for 64, sorry, ma'am. I'm just nervous. It's the first time.
That's okay, Tetelo. Don't stress. No, we're not here to judge you. We're only here to help you.
Ma'am, the number for 64 is 8.
That's quite right, Tetelo. When you multiply 8 by itself, you get 64. Well done. That's great. Perfect. Good job. Okay, Bulela, why don't you do 3.4? What number squared is 36, Bulela?
Ma'am, I think it's 9.
9. Okay, let's just double check that. Right, if we go up to the top here, all right, 9 times 9 was 81. Okay, 9 times 9 is 81. So unfortunately, it's not going to be 9. Let's see if somebody else. That's okay, Bulela. We all make mistakes. That's why we're here. Teboho, what number when squared is going to give us 36?
6.
Say again, Teboho.
6.
It's 6. Absolutely. Well done. Okay, very nice. Good job. Now I want to show you something a little bit unusual that you may not have seen before. If you have seen this, then that's all good and well, but I don't know if you would have seen this before, but this is something that you'll definitely see next year when you go into grade 8, something that's very, very important, okay? So I'm going to do the first one with you, and I'm going to show you how this works, all right? You agree with me. If I take 3 and I add 4, do I get 5 as the answer? Is what I've written on the board true?
No.
No.
Oh, no, I'm talking nonsense, aren't I? Okay, because on the left-hand side, 3 plus 4 gives me 7, and 7 and 5 are definitely not the same thing. Now look at this. This is the magic of squaring. Now if I say 3 squared plus 4 squared, guess what? That equals 5 squared. Because 9 plus 16 is 25.
Ma'am?
Have you seen that before?
Ma'am?
Yes, boy Panelo.
Ma'am, I have seen that before, but we did the longer version of that.
Yes. Well, when you say the longer version, what do you mean?
We do the same thing as we did on the top numbers to get the answer.
Okay, all right. So in that case, have a look at number 2 and you tell me what number is supposed to go into the block.
So, ma'am, since we did the longer version, first we timed 6 with 6. And then we get the answer, which is 36.
Is good,
36.
yes,
And then we
quite
times
right.
8 with 8, which is 64.
Good.
So since we're gonna plus, instead of the thing, it's plus. So we're gonna plus those two answers together.
All right. And then what answer are we gonna get when we plus these numbers together?
It's gonna be 100.
100, it certainly is. And what number, when it's squared, gives us 100?
10.
That's it. So 10 times 10 gives us 100. Well done. So that's what has to go in here. Let's see who else can help us with this.
Ma'am?
Who's talking to me? Yes, Kaya.
Ma'am, Kaya.
Yes, Kaya.
Ma'am, can you please do the top method again?
Kaya, that's not going to work with every single question. All right, so I was just showing you how, if I say 3 squared plus 4 squared, it equals 5 squared. But you can't just do that to any 3 numbers. All right, there's only certain numbers that it actually works with. So that's why we've got to look very carefully at what those values are going to be. It's not just any number that we can do this to. Okay, so there's not really a method involved with the top one. It was just a talking point. I tell you what, why don't you have a look and try and use the same method that Boipelo used to do number 2, right? So work out what is 5 squared. What is 5 squared?
5 squared is 25.
Beautiful. And what's 12 squared?
Ma'am, 144.
Okay, and then what do we need to do with these two numbers? 144 and 25. We're going to?
Ma'am, I need to add them.
You need to add them together. Quite right. We're going to add them together. And what are we going to get as an answer?
And 25. Ma'am, 169.
We get 169. And what number multiplied by itself gives us 169? Do you know?
13.
Well done, Nima. How do you know that?
Because I multiplied it earlier and wrote it down.
Okay, all right, quite right. Okay, so 5 squared plus 12 squared gives us 13 squared. All right, and then here's a super difficult one before we finish off. And then I'm going to show you a little trick for the last 5 minutes. Okay, so now I want to know what goes in the missing block. Okay, so I get 8 squared plus another number squared gives me 17 squared. All right, so let's see who can work that out And then I tell you what, once you've got an answer, you can pop it into the chat for us.
Do we divide?
Or do you want to talk? Let's see who's got hands up here. Okay, Spamandla. What did you want to say, Spamandla?
I wanted to say you can say 17 minus 8 and then equal to your answer, and then check your answer by square rooting and classing by square rooting your answers, and then figure out your answer.
Absolutely. Well done. So by working backwards, which is another really, really important thing in maths. Well done. You've explained that beautifully, Spamandla. Let's see who else has got a hand up. Mahlodi, what were you going to say?
Ma'am, I would say I think we would do it in the inverse operation.
Oh,
for example,
I love the language you're using. Okay, so the inverse operation. What's the inverse of squaring?
Is it dividing, ma'am?
It's not exactly dividing. It's not exactly dividing, but you are very, very close. The inverse of a square, so the opposite operation of a square, is called a square root. Okay, and that's what we're going to talk about in our next lesson. All right, so if we do what Spamandla had suggested here, we can work out what's left over in our block by saying 17 squared minus 8 squared. That was a really good suggestion, Spamandla. Thank you so much. Does anybody know what 17 squared is? What's 17?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what is it, Asamahle?
289.
289, it certainly is. And 8 squared is?
64.
64. And if I take 64 away from 289, what am I left with?
225.
225. So what number squared needs to go in the block?
25.
Not 25? What number squared is going to go in the block? You're right, it does end in a 5, but it's not 25. The number that goes in the block is?
15.
15, quite right. Okay, because 15 times 15 is 125. Okay, well done, grade 7s. Now I want to show you something that you can maybe use at school or next year when you're in grade 8. And it's a way of being able to work out what square numbers are really, really quickly. Okay, so the way that it works is like this. Let me just get rid of this one over here. Well, actually, you know what? I'll leave that there and I'll do another example. Okay, so let's pretend that we wanted to know what 14 squared is. Right? What we do is this. We take the first number. Okay, so the first number is a 1. Right? So I'm going to take the 1 and I'm going to square it. So that means 1 times 1, I get 1 as my answer. So what I do on the side is I write down my answer 1, but I have to write it like this. I have to write it as 0, 1. Then I take the second number, okay, so the number that's sitting in the units column. So in this case, it's going to be the number 14, right? And I'm going to square that as well. So I'm going to say 4 squared means 4 times 4, and that's going to leave me with 16. And then I'm going to write 16 next to my 0, 1. Right. Then what I do is I take the two numbers. So I take 1 and I times it by 4, and then I double it. Okay, so 1 times 4 times 2 gives me 8, and I write that as 0, 8. And then what I do is I write the 0, 8 in the middle. And then I add these numbers together. So 6 plus 0 gives me 6. 1 plus 8 gives me 9. And 1 plus 0 gives me 1. And there we go. I can work out my perfect square. Easy peasy, just like that. Isn't that a super cool trick?
Ma'am, you said it like it's actually easy.
Is it difficult?
I mean, it's not hard, but it's
okay.
A
Well,
long
I tell you
process.
what. Okay. Well, I tell you what. Why don't you try one? And if you get it wrong, so what? Then we talk about it again. So I'm going to challenge you guys. Okay. No calculators. All right. Try 80. Actually, let me make it a little bit easier than that. Let's go with something that we actually already know is true. Let's go with 15 squared. Okay, you try that and see if you get the right answer.
Ma'am, sorry, but when you were explaining, I did get it, but then,
do you want me to do another one with you, Tisha?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll let you guys try 15 squared on your own. I'm going to do a difficult one with you, if that's okay. Because I just think that this is so cool. So now you can dazzle everybody at school. Imagine someone said to you, or your teacher said to you, what is 37 squared? Okay, you can work this out super, super fast. So the method is take the first number. So in this case, the 3. So you're going to take 3 and you're going to square it. Okay, now remember we learned today, you guys know this, that 3 squared means 3 times 3, and that's 9, right? So you're going to write over here 0, 9. Okay, then you're going to take the next number, which in this case over here is 7, right? And I'm going to square 7. I'm going to take 7 and I'm going to square it. Oopsie, I've written the wrong thing here. Sorry, 3 times 3 is 9. Sorry, and 7 squared, that gives me 7 times 7, and that gives me 49. So next to the 0, 9, I'm going to write 49. Now I'm going to take the two numbers that make up my number, and I'm going to times them together. So 3 times 7, and then I'm going to double it. So 3 times 7 is 21, and 21 times 2 is 42. And then I'm going to put those numbers in the middle, and then I'm going to add. So 9 plus 0 is 9. 4 plus 2 is 6. 9 plus 4 is 13. Carry the 1 over there. Right, so 37 squared is 1,369. Isn't that cool? I think that's super cool.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
I think that is so super cool. Easy way to work it out. Okay, so now you guys try. Oh, our time is nearly up. You guys try 15 squared.
Ma'am, I have the answer.
Do you, Luanle? That's super fast. How did you get the answer, Luanle, using this cool new method that I showed you? You have to tell me what you did.
Ma'am, using this method.
Absolutely.
Ma'am, I didn't use it.
Okay, so Boipelo says 135, Nima says 175. Okay, but now the whole idea here is that we want to use our brains. We don't want to use a calculator. All right,
anybody can use a calculator.
But 15 times 15 is not 135.
Ma'am, I know what the answer.
Ma'am,
what's 15? You can.
Ma'am, it's 225.
It is, Luanle. It is 225. So if you use my method, all right, what you would have done is you would have said 1 times 1, which is 1, and you would have written 0, 1. And you would have said 5 times 5, and that's 25, and you would have written 25 over here. And then you would have said 1 times 5 times 2, which is 10, and you would have put 10 in the middle. All right.
I didn't double it.
A 5 and a 2 and a 2. There we go. Okay. Well, anyway, you guys can. Did you forget to double it?
Yes,
Okay.
because I wrote 1 times 5 without timesing it by 2 again.
You got to remember to double it.
Oh, ma'am, now I see what I did. I put the 1 under the 2.
Oh, okay. All right. So you've got to get it in the middle. Okay. And then I'm going to show you how we can do this with cubing. And I'm going to show you another super cool trick with square roots as well. But unfortunately, it's 6 o'clock, and that means our time is up.
Oh, man.
I know. I wish we could carry on as well. Well, I hope you enjoyed our lesson and that you found it really fun and interesting and that you learned something different today.
I did. I know.